This multisim tutorial will demonstrate how to use a multimeter to read voltage in a circuit. Before starting your simulation, come over to the Instruments panel and click on the top icon. It should be the multimeter. Drag it over to the circuit and place the positive and negative leads over the device that you want to measure the voltage across. So in this case, it's going to be the lamp, so I'll click on the negative terminal, connect the wire there, connect on the positive terminal, connect the wire there. I could even move this over a little bit just to emphasize that I'm measuring the voltage across the device. And then if I want to set up the multimeter, I'm going to double click on it. I'll move it up to here so I can see it better. I'll make sure that V for volts is selected. The solid line is selected so that it's DC volts. Then I can click on the schematic capture, press F5 to run the simulation. The lamp will illuminate and you'll see that there are 12 volts across the lamp. If I then open the circuit by pressing the A key, you will see that we have 172.8 picovolts, which is 10 to the minus 12 times 172.8, and I think we'll call that 0 volts. This multisim tutorial will show how to measure resistance with a multimeter. Here we have a small little circuit with 3 resistors in series and a 12-volt battery. Now whenever we want to measure resistance, the first thing we have to do is make sure that the power is turned off and that the power supply is disconnected from the resistive network. I'm going to break these leads in order to take out the battery, because if I don't do that, then I'm going to burn out the multimeter. I'm purposely just going to move this battery over to the left. Now I can go to the Instruments toolbar and get the multimeter. I'll click on it, drag it over. I will then connect my negative lead to the left-hand terminal of R2. I'll connect the right-hand lead to ground. I'll double-click on the multimeter, bring it over to here, click on the ohm symbol, and now I can click on the schematic capture, press F5 to run the simulation, and we will see that our multimeter will read 172 ohms, which is the correct value for the summation of the resistive values for these 3 individual resistors. This multisim tutorial will demonstrate how to use a measurement probe. We're given a small series circuit. It has a 12-volt battery in it, our lamp, a switch, and a ground. And what we want to do is use a simple device to measure the voltage without having to hook up a whole bunch of test equipment. And that simple device is the measurement probe. In class we talked about voltage always has to be measured with respect to another point. So our measurement probe has a black clip on it which you would attach to ground. And then you would measure the voltage using this probe here, and then it would give you the value with respect to ground. In Multisim, all you have to do is come over to the Instruments toolbar and select the measurement probe, and you're all set to go. But what I want you to realize is, though, that behind the scenes you have this black clip connected to ground so that you're measuring the voltage with respect to another point. Let's start the simulation and see how this works. I'm going to press F5 to start the simulation, and then I'm going to come over and I'm going to click on the measurement probe, and I'm just going to drag it over to here on the schematic capture, and we can see that we have 12 volts on the left-hand side of the lamp. Let's go to the right-hand side of the lamp, and you'll see I also have 12 volts. That's because I have an open circuit, because the switch is open. We'll measure the right-hand side of the switch, and you'll see it's 0 volts, and that's the same potential as ground. This ground over here is also going to have 0 volts because they're both at the same electrical potential. Let's close the switch and analyze the circuit again. So I press the A key, and on the left-hand side of the lamp I still have 12 volts. Now on the right-hand side of the lamp, because current is flowing, I'm not going to have that 12 volts anymore, It's going to give me a reading here of 8.33 nanovolts. Let's take a look at the right-hand side of the switch, and you'll see that that's still at 0 volts. One could argue that there is a slight voltage drop across the switch because of the internal resistance of the switch, but we're going to call that 8.3 nanovolts, 0 volts, because nano is 10 to the minus ninth. So that voltage there is so small, we're just going to call that 0 volts. So this is how we would use a measurement probe to measure any voltage in the circuit, just by selecting it from the instrument's toolbar and then hovering over the point in the circuit that we want to measure the voltage.